Pedagogy.
Our first guest for this year, for this new season, is a great friend of mine, is a guy who I've known for about 5 years now. And yeah, we just hit it off. And although we haven't been working together that much since then, it's always nice to catch up. And this is one of those days that I get to catch up with him. I'm talking, of course, of someone a lot of you already know. And your guest for today is Mr. Burch Wang. Burch, you would show your pretty face to the people.
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? I'm the first episode of season 2.
Yep. And
What?
season 1, yeah, goes out in like a week's time. So everyone can watch in there.
So this is like a pivotal episode. This is like an important story plot building episode right here.
Yeah, it's going to set the tone pretty much for whatever comes.
No pressure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this. What's up, everyone? How's it going?
So, Burch, like the way I start every one of these interviews, just give me a second, sorry. Yeah. The way I start every one of these interviews is that I ask our guest to please introduce themselves. In that, what is it that you would want people to know about you and whatever you've done in your life before we get into like specific stuff?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, sure. Just start with the hardest question possible. Okay. Well, I'm Burch. I'm an American, born in America. And what do I want people to know about me? Okay, this is what I want people to know. I am currently working on my dream. I do music. I'm a DJ. I do music. I act. I'm a model. All these things, and I've been doing that. But my dream is to basically be a music star. Is to get out there. Is to get on stage. I want to perform in front of like 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 100,000 people. And that's not actually the most important thing. The thing I really want everybody to know is that literally every day of my life, I'm working my ass off. I'm sacrificing everything. I'm doing whatever it takes to try to make my dreams come true. And so what I want y'all to know is that my name is Burch and I'm on this journey. And I have no idea what the final destination is. The journey itself has been crazy beyond belief. Like the places that it's taken me and what I've done. And then on top of that, things like Corona and like all this stuff going on right now in the world, 2020, oh my God, fuck my life. Like, oh, am I allowed to curse on this?
That's okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like just, like this is a crazy adventure and I'm just kind of in this adventure. So I know a lot of other people are too. It doesn't matter if you're like in school or out of school, whatever the case is. Like I'm just doing it with y'all. And that's me.
What was child Burch like? What were you like growing up? And so what excited you as a child? And do you think that like a lot of us have an idea that like when we are 10 to 12 years old, what we want to do in life? If you're able to follow that to the end, people think that maybe that gives you some illusory or real sense of happiness. What do you have to say about that? And what excited you as a kid, basically?
Okay, so a lot of my childhood dreams have not or probably will not come true because I think one of the first things I wanted to be was a dinosaur. And so that is most likely not going to happen. I guess with genetic technology, who knows? But my childhood was amazing. I have amazing parents. I really had a storybook kind of a childhood. It was really innocent. And since I was little, one thing I'll remember is that it's never really been about an actual like career or vocation that I did, but I always knew in the bottom of my heart from like a young age that I wanted to change the world somehow, to make like a huge impact on the world. That's always been something that's been on my mind since like I was like 6 or something like that, like always. Like how I was going to do that has changed over time, right? Like I think, like I said, I want to be a dinosaur. That would change the world a lot. So I know that like throughout time I've wanted to, my first real dream in life, my first like passion real dream is that I want to be an NBA basketball player. And I guess that's pretty appropriate given the whole situation, the whole Black Lives Matter situation going on now. But I love basketball. Basketball was my first love, even before I discovered music. I used to go everywhere with a basketball, like under my arm. I used to like play basketball like while the preacher was preaching at church. Like it was like I was inseparable. And so my dream was always actually to be an NBA basketball player, but Jeremy Lin kind of messed that up for me. So whatever. But and then from there, like I've thought about doing medicine, I thought about doing law, I thought about doing a whole bunch of things, and then I discovered acting, I discovered music, and so like the things that I could have theoretically done have changed since I was little. But the desire to make like a huge impact on people on the earth, to do something that would outlive me, like, leave a song or something that would like live beyond my life, to have some sort of a legacy, has always been something on my mind since I was like really little. Maybe I watched too many Disney movies, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that one of your earliest dreams was to write songs for Disney movies.
Yes, that was one of my dreams. That's after I discovered music and fell in love with music, and I started watching like those movies with like songs in them. And I remember like just watching it, being like, just like how powerful and how beautiful they were, combined with the amazing animation and storytelling, and like, yeah, just blown away. And I was like, music, this thing, and specifically Disney. Like I always wanted to be like a Disney character, like a Disney cartoon character. So
like growing up in India, we got everything like 20, 30 years later than like
the rest of the world.
The Jungle Book came out, I think, in 1957, the original one, something like that, right?
Okay.
57, 67.
Okay.
I was born in 1991, and that's the movie I grew up with. So that tells you how long a time period it would have been. But yeah, I used to love Baloo the bear and the whole monkey song.
Baloo, it's just a bare necessity, the mother. That one, right?
Oh man, I used to love that. Sing that every morning.
Yeah.
So yeah. The next thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is obviously it's something that I'm sure you carry around with you all day, is the fact like where you studied. You got an Ivy League education. So because a lot of the people who would be listening to this, that's a very aspirational thing for them. Like a student in New Delhi that's doing really well, got exposed early knew what SATs were, and took them and decided to go there. What would you say were the pluses and minuses of an Ivy League education, and what did it mean to you, basically?
Okay. Whew. Right now, we are in a time period, it really kicked off because of Corona, where the idea of education, how to do it right, and what its actual value is I think under a lot of question right now. Would you agree with me? You actually probably would know better than I do.
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay. 100%.
I
feel that education, because it's been done maybe incorrectly or presented incorrectly, has really gotten a bad rap. I think a lot of the people that, I spend a lot of time talking with like my fans and my audience, and these are people who are like in their teens, early 20s and stuff like that. And like, I think education has gotten a bad rap. I think that there is a general sentiment. A lot of people, I think, are just following other people when they say this, but I feel like a lot of people just think that education is unnecessary, or that it's no good, or it's not applicable. And I don't disagree. Okay. And I think following this kind of like general sentiment, I think people have also been saying things like, oh, like, what's the purpose of university? Why do you even go? We don't use anything we learn. Like, people change careers all the time now. Like, what's the point? And then even more so, what's the point of an Ivy League, or at least a top tier university? Like, it's so expensive. At least in America, it's expensive. It's so expensive. It's just for a name. It's just for a paper. I hear that a lot. It's just for a paper. And I guess technically it is, but the way I see it, I completely disagree. I understand that we are in a world now where information is not so valuable because it's at our fingertips. Anything we want to know, we can just look it up online. We could probably learn nuclear physics off of a course that you can illegally torrent or something, right? So the information itself is maybe not as important. But an Ivy League education, I believe, provides you with two, maybe more things that are even like more that are more valuable than anything else. It's really funny actually you asked this question because my freshman year at Stanford, I asked a senior this exact same question because I remember my freshman year at university, I was buying the books for classes, right? And I was taking a whole bunch of classes. I did pre-med, and so I had to take organic chemistry my first year. I remember buying the books, and then like it was so expensive, right? Like because the organic chemistry book was like this like textbook, and then it had like a workbook, and then you had to buy like the molecule set with it. And altogether, my books for just one semester of organic chemistry came over to well over 300 US dollars, right? So when I saw the price on these books, I was like, what the? And I went on Amazon to see if I can get something, a cheaper price or like a used thing or something. And as I started doing research, I saw that like this is a very standard textbook. This textbook is the standard textbook that they use in pretty much every university across America for beginner level organic chemistry. And so a question dawned upon me, which was, then why the hell did I work so hard to come to Stanford? Why am I paying so much money if I'm just using the same book that somebody at the community college down the street is using as well? Obviously, we are receiving the same information. So what's the difference? So I asked a senior this question because it really kind of bothered me. And his answer was a great answer. I don't remember exactly like verbatim what he said. It wasn't one of those like Master Shifu, old tortoise kind of things. But basically what he said is that the point of an Ivy League education is for two things. And since then, I do agree with him. Number one, when you are in an Ivy League situation, you are surrounded every single day by the most brilliant young minds and the most brilliant older minds and professors and stuff every single second because we live in dorms, right? So the same group of people that you're getting drunk with and that you're like partying with are the same people that maybe Elon Musk in the future, that maybe Mark Zuckerberg in the future, or at least somebody who's like top programmer, top code CEO, world leader, whatever the case is, right? You are in an environment where you are constantly being challenged and stimulated, especially intellectually. I can't tell you how many nights my dorm friends and we were just like sitting in the hall until like 3 or 4 a.m. talking about crazy shit that you talk about at that at college age, but also like discussing philosophy and discussing religion and discussing all these things. To be surrounded, to be in a community where like it's like the most brilliant minds, the most curious minds, where they have the best questions and the next questions and the challenging stuff, is something that really you cannot put a price tag on. And on top of all that, to have your professors who are Nobel Prize winning professors, the people who discovered DNA, REM sleep, the leaders of Silicon Valley and, of like this, that, and the other, that's part of the thing that you cannot get at the community college down the street and you can't get anywhere else. And the second thing, which kind of is related to all this, is that because you are at such a high level of intelligence and thinking and thoughts and questions and processing and debating and stuff, it also kicks your own skills. It challenges them, right? Like you have to just think that much harder. You have to kind of raise your game up to that. So I know for a fact that I worked really hard in high school, and I came out of high school being really smart, doing a lot of stuff, but I realized that I didn't know how to actually think, and I didn't know how to actually process things and to understand things deeply until I went to university. So what I basically paid for was the community, and with community also comes networking, right? Like maybe who knows, I might start a .com with somebody I met there, or like I might like do something with, or I might get a job from somebody, or I might, whatever. So networking and the community, but also I think that the environment and the surroundings teaches you to think, to actually become a truly intelligent person, not just somebody who knows stuff. Because a lot of people today, because information is at our fingertips, a lot of people pretend like they just know stuff. A lot of people know information or can get information, but very few people can actually think.
And what was the pedagogy and the people teaching you, the professors, did they help bring that out? Or
Yes.
was it mostly your peers?
No, it was both. It was both. In theory, because you're getting the best of the best at a top tier university, your professors hopefully are also people who think outside the box, who teach in a way that forces you to think in ways that you've never thought of before, who give tests and give assignments that are created hopefully to be challenging, difficult, nearly impossible most of the time, but also that really forces you to basically the edge of your intelligence, to try to get you to break through, to break boundaries and stuff. And that's, obviously it is hard to find good teachers anywhere, even at high, like high tier universities. A lot of, professors at these universities are mostly concerned with themselves and their research and their own career and status. That's to be expected. But just, when you're in a place like that, like you are going to be intellectually challenged by the peers and by the professors. So yeah, I say definitely from the professors as well. I know that there's some professors who made a huge difference in the way I think right now about the world, about the purpose of life, about everyday stuff. Definitely, for sure.
So a couple of our guests have been people who dropped out of college, and that's the case with me as well. So and all these people basically had the same thing to say. It's that what I have learned most in my life is through meeting people with who can think, is by meeting people, and then maybe our thoughts can sync. And that's how I've learned whatever, and I've been able to do something. I can earn a living now because of doing that.
Right.
But if I was in university, all of them say you do not need to drop out in order to really get somewhere, because that's just a story that the media likes to run with and books are written about, right?
Here's the thing, okay? I don't believe that everybody has to go to university, okay? University, maybe societally, it's more advantageous to get that paper, but from a personal development, intellectual point of view, I do not believe that you have to go to university. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that everybody is suited to go to university. And you're right. I feel like there's a little bit of a romantic discrimination, maybe sometimes romantic, maybe sometimes not, for people who've dropped out. Yeah, so I mean, a person can be perfectly intelligent, or a lot of times people who drop out are way more intelligent. I have friends who've also dropped out of university, and they're also some of the most intelligent people I know. So there is not necessarily a correlation between going to university and intelligence or skills or ability or anything like that. So I am unhappy about kind of the way that people look down or like kind of cock their eyebrow at that whole thing. So I don't believe that you have to, but for a lot of people, it's kind of like this. You don't need Tinder to date, but it's a nice platform. So I guess university is kind of like an intellectual Tinder in a sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's a place where it's already all set up. You can do it. It kind of facilitates things and has tools and other people to guide you along the way. That's not exactly how Tinder works. I'm totally stretching this analogy a little bit, but just the point is that like
enjoy the analogy. So.
Right, I guess, but like and you get to choose your professors. You can swipe left or right on them. But basically, all I'm trying to say is that some people are benefited by having a platform that already exists, where all these things are already a part of it. You know what I'm saying? But there's other people that don't need it, don't want it, don't like it, and that's perfectly fine.
When did you know that you want to do something in music or acting or writing? Or when do you know that creativity was gonna be what you're all
about? I fell in love with music in high school. I discovered music has kind of always been in my life because I grew up in church, but I fell in love with music personally in high school. And when I discovered music in high school, I literally threw myself into it. My life was basically, I mean, I did everything in high school because in America, in order to get to a top level university, you basically have to kill yourself and do everything. Like you can't not do a thing. So I did sports, I did leadership clubs, I did music, I did, I was the top kid in my class, things like that. But yeah, like when I got to university, I guess the expectation was for me to just pursue like I guess what would be a more normal career. So for me, because I actually do very much enjoy biology and medicine and stuff like that, I was on my way to being a doctor. But then 2 years into university, and I hadn't taken a music, anything in those 2 years. I was so hungry and so thirsty for music. I was like, oh my God, I miss it. I can't be without it. And I just realized, I think then and there, that like the first realization is that I can't be without music, and not just like consuming it, but like producing it and like creating, you know. And so from there, I decided to add a music major on top of my other major. So I like kind of had like 2, 3 majors when I was in university. And then after I graduated, like I kind of looked around me and I was like, this music acting thing, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how it happened.
So right out of college, you
Hmm.
did not get a job or anything like that. Right out of college, you knew that this is what you want to do.
I don't know if, unless you're from either a wealthy family or from a well-known artistic family, like a music family or an acting family, for most people, when they pursue it, it's kind of like you generally won't pursue arts professionally by itself because most people can't survive off of that and only that. You know what I mean? And so, okay, so the answer to your question is this: from a personality point of view, I focus and I give 1,000% to someone. I never have like a backup plan because I think that people who have backup plans they're gonna fail.
Yeah.
When you give yourself a backup plan, you're basically giving yourself a way out, which means that somewhere subconsciously you're like preparing to fail, and that's not. So, from that point of view, yes, I was fully invested and fully in, But also, like, like while you're doing that, you still have to find a way to kind of earn some kind of income, or to do this, that, the other. And luckily for me, I have to say, because of, my education and because of kind of my, like my own, I guess, entrepreneurship, I've never actually technically taken a real job ever in my life. Everything I've done has always been either like tutoring. I've also started my own businesses before, some of them music related, some of them not. Um, I've done a lot of actually really random odds and ends kind of things that have actually ended up being pretty financially, beneficial for me. So such that I could support myself and my, pursuits. And acting and music is actually really expensive. Everything from like travel costs to like acting classes to music lessons to coaching to eventually I got into the acting union, which is actually a really big deal in America, to paying like union dues, paying all these things. There's actually a lot of costs involved in doing arts that a lot of people don't think about. And yeah, I was able to support myself. So like from that point of view, it's in the beginning you won't think like I'm only doing acting, because you got to do acting music alongside with other jobs and other things. And there's always that joke of like, oh, you're an actor, what restaurant do you work at?
Yeah.
So there's that. But then as far as like a personal, like, goal oriented point of view, like, yeah, that was it for me. That's what I was going to do, and I'm not going to stop until I make it. I'm going to make it. So that's it.
So if you didn't have to do anything else, if you were told at 24 that I know this is like a lifetime contract, just keep making music for us and you won't have to do anything else, would you
Okay.
have taken it? Or do you think that you benefit from doing not just one discipline, but many at the same time?
Personally, I benefit from doing many different disciplines. Part of it is because I've always really worshipped the Renaissance people, and the whole idea of being like a Renaissance man, where like you are kind of a master of many different things. But that's a personal thing. If at 24 I landed some type of like like record deal, or I like landed some type of like TV, like Netflix series or something, and that's all I had to do, I would have been really happy also. Like I totally like, there's basically, two ways to think about it. Like, and I think you would also understand this. There is like the joy of being able to know and understand and synthesize and like, like integrate a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different, things. But then there's also the joy and the beauty of just like becoming a master of one thing and just like getting to the trying to reach the furthest depths of that one thing, so I think for me personally, both would have been satisfying equally, but in different ways.
So one of the things that we've taken up with people who like couple of musicians, visual artists, is the creative process and what it means to different people. So generally there's two kinds of creators, right? There's people who will not do anything. Like for them, the time spent idle is what actually makes or breaks what they're going to do, because they're doing nothing and their mind is building all these little connections. And then when they do, they produce in spurts. But then there's people who need a daily routine and discipline in order to get it out of them. So where do you fall on that spectrum?
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm definitely the second. I'm the latter, for sure. For resources. Right now, I guess we're just only talking about the creative process, just the process itself, right? Okay. If we're talking about just the creative process itself, I'm the latter. I'm always juggling a lot of different projects at one time. My mind gets more stimulated the more I am stimulated. Like the more things I have going on, the more interactions, the more people. Like a lot of my ideas actually comes from like, when I'm out maybe trying to network or trying to meet people, or like when like something happens in my like social life, or like when something like a lot of my music and lyrics are based upon those kinds of things. So I always have to be on the go. And plus the energy I get from knowing that I am actively pursuing, actively working towards something kind of brings, gives me that kind of like creative juice that I need. I'm not one to just kind of sit back and just like be idle. I'm not good at that. I've never been good at that. And that's just kind of not my thing. Having said that though, for me, being active can be a number of things. It doesn't mean that I'm like sitting in front of a computer working. It doesn't mean that I'm like in meetings working. One of the times I'm actually the most creative is when I'm out jogging and exercising. Like that's hard work, okay? Like I know people think, oh, you're just exercising. Yeah, but like I hate exercising. But like I go running every single day. It's been part of my life for a while now. And a lot of my song ideas and or lyrics come to me when I'm running. Also when I'm partying and when I'm like doing social stuff, a lot of my ideas come when I see something or something happens to me. Like those are so like, it might sound weird, but I consider those part of my work. It might be weird to be like partying is work, and like, but when you're an artist, every aspect of your life is work. Does that make, or at least it's tied into your work, thereby making it work, right? And like, I don't use work in the same way that people use it, because when I say the word work, I smile. I fucking love my work and I love to do my work. I even love to suffer for my work, and I've suffered a lot for it. So yeah, I guess my definition of work and my feelings and the connotations I have with that word are different than your average, or like when most people use that word. But for me, like my whole life is my work, and I think that's what
Leonard
it means to me.
Cohen used to say this. He used to say that I consider myself to be completely employed. And when I say employed, I mean that I'm always looking forward to something at every second. And that to me means being employed, being fully employed by something. And
Yeah,
a lot of us have jobs, but not all of us are employed. And I
it's
thought that
true.
was a really fun way to look at that.
I guess that's true. Sometimes you can have a job, but be totally checked out. And so you're like, you have a job, but you're not employed because you're totally checked out.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Like for me, like every crazy or every mundane thing I do in life it may or may not become part of my art. It may or may not become part of my songs, and it's something that I have to reflect on and think all the time. But yeah, like maybe that's the reason why I think I'm busy all the time, is because no matter what, my brain is always spinning. I'm always doing something that I'm considering to be work because it's part of my life. I guess some people make a difference between like this is my job and then I party on the weekends, or I party at night or something, or like this is my dating life and this is this. But I have no lines at all. That all that stuff is just work to me, and it's awesome.
So one of the things that what this podcast started out being about was about people who are looking to do something for a living, and for
Okay.
someone who maybe is just starting out. I don't know, they could be 25 and just out of grad school, or they could be 35 and wanting to give up a corporate life, or it could be any of those things.
Okay.
To someone just starting out, what's the advice you would give them when it comes to music and the independent scene in general?
Music in specific?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask because I haven't made it yet. But if I were to just think about my experiences, um, to be honest, I think a lot of things I'm going to say applies to like if your goal is to find your true passion, it doesn't matter if that's like being like medicine, or like a programmer, or like a lawyer, engineer, or a musician, or an artist. I think anybody who is looking for their real passion all have the same questions, the same doubts, and the same struggles. Because at the end of the day, it's internal, it's in you, right? It has nothing to do exactly with what the vocation looks like, but it's how you're dealing with yourself as you're searching and fighting and trying to find that thing, right? So, I mean, this isn't specific, but number one, you got to be sure you really want to do it. That's a piece of advice I've heard people tell people who want to be doctors, or who whatever. Like, music and arts is not a glorious thing. No matter, like, despite like what you see, like on YouTube, on TV, on IG, on whatever the case is, the path to it is really messy, is really dirty, is really insecure, is really uncertain, and it's sometimes scary. Sometimes it might even pull you to the depths of sanity. Like, it's not easy. Um, it's not a play, fun, light kind of a thing. Like, it's your life. So like, you have to know that you're willing to sacrifice everything for it. I guess once again, this applies to everything. It applies to like relationships. Should I start a family? Should I be a doctor? Whatever the case is, right? Like, if you're not ready to sacrifice everything for it, then you have to wonder whether or not you're actually ready for it at all, right? But I guess with music and art, because of its kind of like stigma, or kind of like how difficult it is, or kind of its place in society, it presents unique challenges, right? So be sure, get ready to if, prepare yourself to sacrifice everything. Take a lot of risks. Take a lot of risks. Oh my God. A lot of musicians I know, no matter whether they're talented or not, they're always scared to perform, scared to release that first original song because they don't know what people are going to say. They don't know, they're afraid of what other people will think. You just have to take risks. You're going to fail. You're going to fuck it up. You're going to release shitty stuff. And it's whether or not you have the resilience to get back up, to learn, and to become better. I don't think there's any successful musician, and obviously no unsuccessful musicians also, but like who's never tasted rejection, or has never tasted people being like, oh, that's shit. As a matter of fact, in many ways, the more successful you get, the more hate, the more rejection, right? The more thumbs down you'll get on a YouTube video, or the more hate you're going to get on your IG post or something like that, right? So like, toughen up. Number one, like, prepare to sacrifice everything. Number two, toughen the fuck up and don't be scared to. Okay, I shouldn't say don't be scared. That's not a reasonable thing to say. It's okay to fuck face and like be willing to swallow it and be ready to like confront it. Otherwise, you are not ready to be an artist. So all artists are scared, and everyone is doesn't want to be rejected, and they hope that. But at the end of the day, either not everyone's gonna like everything, and sometimes you might actually just make shitty stuff. have a good group of friends, support system around you, friends, family, whatever the case is. Number one, it's going to be a difficult path. You need people. Number two, you need people who you can trust. There are way too many people who are getting wrong advice about whether their music is good or not, whether they sing well or not, whether or not they're good, because they're just basically surrounding themselves by people who either don't want to hurt their feelings or something like that. You need to find a good group of honest ass people who will be like, nope, you have no talent, or say things like, hey, that song sucks. You need to go back to the editing board and work on that. It's good. You want people to challenge you. Also, another thing is find out who your heroes are and study the shit out of them. Any song or any producer or any artist you like, find out why you like them, break it down, learn from everybody. Oh, I got a good one. Don't judge. Don't judge. Okay. You might be one of those people who are like, oh my God, I hate Justin Bieber. Or like, oh my God, Kanye, like you're such an asshole. No, do not judge. Number one, it's art. Don't fucking judge. It's art, right? But number two, you can learn something from everybody who has succeeded. It could be something as small as like a small way they sing a note, or like a cool kick drum that they like to put into a song or something, to anything like, or even to like, oh, this song, I hate it, but it has 52 million views on YouTube. How did they market it? Let me learn some marketing strategies, or let me learn like something. Like there's always something to learn. Don't hate on anybody and don't judge. Just learn. Just learn. Get whatever you can to build yourself as an artist. That's also something you should do.
So you spoke a little bit before about how very few people can can earn like their entire living just doing art or just singing. And obviously, it takes a little while in most cases to get there, even where it's completely like that. But to people who are just starting out, like monetarily, how is it that you can first start making money as a musician, just trying to, whether you're alone or with a group of people? What are the ways in which they can start looking at ways to go semi-pro, if not?
Okay. I'm always a believer of investing in yourself and your dreams. So what I mean by that is always trying to do things that will further your ability to reach your dreams, right? So if you want to do music as an example, if I would always try to find a source of income in that field or with people that can get you in that direction, right? Like let's say you want to do music, it may or may not make sense. I'm not saying like there's obviously no clear-cut answer for this, but if you can, get a job at a recording studio, or like get a job, doing, or like at a record label, or like a job like with a creative like a group or something like that. Or, it doesn't have to be that, like, because a lot of music, honestly, is also business. Everything is business. Everything is about money, how to market, how to push. Do a job that will benefit you in your pursuit somehow. That to me is priority number one. Even if for a while you have to work for free as an intern at a record label or something like that, just bringing people coffee and stuff, a lot of times that's worth it. And here's the thing, I know it's kind of a shot in the dark. I know it's one of those romantic things, but there's a reason why every once in a while you hear those stories of like, oh, I was just bringing in coffee for the writers, and then they, or something happened, or like, oh, I was just, bringing lunch for these, producers, and then something, what I'm saying? Like you hear those stories every once in a while.
I said something and they laughed and that was it.
Right. Like, and the things that, look, I know that's a really romantic story. That's probably not going to happen to you, but the takeaway message is that if you want to succeed, you have to be in the right place. You have to be in the place of opportunity. You have to be in the place of, you know what I'm saying? So if you're already in a record studio and one day you're taking a shit and you're singing in the bathroom and then someone walks in, you're in the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like if you want to be a writer and you're bringing in coffees, you're in the place. So I think that there can be some strategic choices that can help you. And I think you should always be investing into making yourself better, smarter, wiser in the ways of the industry.
And what a lot of people tell me is, even if you can't head directly into where exactly you want to go, aim at the periphery at least, so that something will stick and you'll try and get closer to where you want to
go. The thing about the arts is that because there's no clear-cut way to get there, like it's going to be a lot of trial and error. it's not like being a doctor. Being a doctor, being a doctor is very difficult, okay? But the path to how to become a doctor is very clear cut, right? You have to do these educational things. You have to go to med school. You have to pass these tests, and da 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 da, and then you go to residency and that. But with art, it's not the same. So yeah, you want to kind of be in the area, and in all of life, I think the one thing they don't do a good enough job teaching in school is networking and social skills.
Mhm.
Because after traveling the world, having performed in over 55 countries, having visited or lived in or been in over 70, 80 countries, the one thing that is literally the most important thing in every country you go to is who you know, social skills, you know? Like, and you always hear like older people like being like, oh my God, this guy got a promotion. He's such an idiot. Or like, oh, this guy got a job. He doesn't know how to do anything. But that's because he knows somebody or he was able to have a beer with the right person or like, like it's almost like a lot of the world doesn't actually work on merit or how much you know. It's based upon whether they like you or not or who you know or something like that. That's something I wish I learned earlier. I spent so
Yeah.
much time being a good student. I should have like learned how to drink beer earlier or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's something I've sucked at for a long time as well. And like I can't tell you how many times I've blown away like entire careers because I felt very weird about meeting a person who I knew I would not have fun talking to. So
Right.
just that whole thing. But it's super important is yeah what everyone says.
In life, you sometimes just have to sleep with the right people. I'm not talking about like literally, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you just sometimes
yeah, exactly.
it's life. Life is not clean, like it's just that's just not the way life works.
And most times if like specifically in an art perspective, if
Hmm.
you are good then that person will also benefit from giving you a spot, getting you an opportunity, and that
Right.
might be good for them monetarily as well. So you
I mean,
didn't see it as just you trying going out there to get something.
right. You have to make sure. I mean, here's the thing. On your own end, you have to be able to present a product that is good. It doesn't in every single job, right? It doesn't matter. But you have to present a product that's polished, that's refined, that's professional. And at the end of the day, I kind of just assume that everyone is selfish and everyone is kind of looking out for themselves. I assume that just to like kind of create the baseline. I'm not saying that everyone actually is, and I actually don't hope that everybody is, but just to create a baseline, right? Like just go ahead and assume that everybody is. And yeah, in business, a lot at the end of the day, it's about a win-win situation. It's about everyone benefiting, whether it be like financially or like status-wise or like whatever the case is. So yeah, God. Okay, last piece of advice: always be working on your craft. Always be getting better. Always and always. There's been a lot of people. It's actually even just happened yesterday, I think. A lot of people will say like, "Hey, Birch, shout me out on your," because my Instagram I have not enough people yet, but I have a decent number of followers. And like, oh, by the way, if you want to add me on Instagram, add me, Birchbeat. But people are always like, "Oh, shout me out," because if you shout me out, then I'll get a lot of followers, and then I'll go check out their page, and their music or their videos kind of suck. And I'm like, "Hey, look, like," and I have to turn around and tell them. I try my best to be as helpful as possible, because even if I can't help them in a way that they like, at least maybe I can give them some advice or give them something. And I'm like, "Hey, look, like I can't do that because your stuff isn't ready." I always use the word ready. It isn't ready yet. And like, yeah, so always be working on your stuff. Like work on your stuff and be so professional and so prepared and so honed and so ready that when the right person comes around or when the right opportunity presents itself, you'll have something to show and they'll be like, oh, that's good.
Like the people around me that I've seen that maybe got like a role in a movie, they were trying to make it and they didn't make it. There's something common to all of them, is that if like a producer or a director met them like outside having
Hmm.
tea or something like that,
Okay.
they
Okay.
said, all right, give me this dialogue, and they would at that moment have 6 different ways to do that line at any given moment because they were that prepared. And that's something that I learned very late in life. Always be ready with your shit, basically.
Yeah. So always be working on your art, your craft. Always be honing your craft. Always.
Okay, so the just about the last part of this interview, the last couple of minutes.
Oh, we're almost done. This was so much fun. Yo, guys, season 2, episode 1. What?
And if you guys like this enough, we'll do another one. So
We'll have part 2. Oh my God, we're gonna be like Jimmy Fallon and Justin Bieber or something. We'll have like multiple follow-up episodes. Or
yeah,
something.
we could like build a plot line and stuff. Yeah, no. Okay, so like so here's how I met Burch for the first time. I met him like the first time I ever saw him. He was up on stage and he was entertaining, which is what.
Trying to.
Nah, you were succeeding pretty hard, man. I was
Good.
there. I was in the crowd. So this was for an international tournament that I was a part of when I was a full-time teacher, like at a school, and Burch was there as part of the organizers. It's the World Scholars Cup. So at that time, I guess I know you travel a lot and you hustle a lot. And before pre-pandemic, I was watching how much you were moving around, collaborating with artists all over the world, actually. But even before that, like, what was that part of your life like? Because from where I was standing, it looked like I wonder how these people are pulling this off. How can you keep up that routine?
That life was nothing short of some Harry Potter, Doctor Strange, Rick and Morty, portal time traveling. Like it was literally on the cusp of like that, because that life was so crazy. And I mean that in the most amazing way possible. We tried to we jumped countries. I was in a different country every day, literally every day. And occasionally more than one country in a day. I actually had one day where I was in 3 different countries in one day. I remember I had breakfast in one country, lunch in another, and then dinner in this totally different country. It was craziness. And we moved around from country to country like normal people ride bus routes or like metro stops. Like it's literally, that's how fluid it is. Like imagine you're taking the metro and you're just like getting off of a stop, doing something, then getting back on the metro. And that's how we did it, but with planes and countries. It was absolutely insane in literally the best way possible.
How different is it entertaining children and entertaining adults? And is there one that you enjoy more than the other?
No, it's here's the thing. I see people more or less as the same. I always, no matter what, I've done a lot of different things in my life that's involved like me being on stage. I've actually been on stage since I was like 7, 8 years old. Cause like, it's a really funny story. So I'm an American, I was born in America, but for most of my life, I was the only Asian kid. And so I was different always. I was always different from everybody. And so my school used to put me into all the plays, like the Christmas plays and stuff, because they're like, we should put Burch in the play because he's the one Asian kid in the school. We got to show everyone that we have like diversity and stuff. So I was always the token non-white kid, right? So I've been on stage like for as long as I can remember. And so when it comes to people, I always want to do something that will affect them somehow emotionally, right? It could be to make them laugh. It could be to make them dance. It could be to make them cry or whatever the case is. But I always want to elicit some sort of response from them, right? And the way I do it is always the same. First, you have to connect with them. First, you have to find their heart. And the moment you've won their heart, then you've won everything, okay? So it's always about figuring out what thing will capture their heart. Which is why, like, when I was little and I used to give speeches or I used to do stuff, I always start out with jokes to make people laugh. Because when someone, actually, this applies to dates too, I guess. Like, once you can make somebody laugh, then they feel comfortable with you. And they're like, okay, they're cool. And then after that, everything you say is going to go in, you know? With the World Scholars Cup and with other performances, I would a lot of times use, like, DJing or use some other method. Like, for example, the World Scholars Cup in particular, like, it's an academic event, right? And so I very purposefully decided to start it with music, and especially pop music or hip hop or something like that, because the first thing I want to do is catch their attention, because they're like, oh, and a lot of people have told me like, wait, I thought I'm coming to an academic competition. Why is Drake playing? Or why is like, you know, like something totally different that totally catches them off guard and then captures their heart. They're like, oh shit, I love this song. Like, and they're starting to sing and dance to like, before anything's even begun. Before anything's begun, I've already kind of changed their perception and I've already kind of won their heart, such that when it's time for me to go out, then I've already kind of won the battle and they're ready to party, they're ready to have a good time, they're ready to laugh, they're ready to dance, they're ready to yell and scream and stuff like that. Same thing when I perform. Like a lot of times I start my performances with a cover instead of an original because they don't know who I am. Like if I just come out with an original, they don't know the song, they don't know who I am. It's going to take a while for them to decide whether or not they like me. But if I come out this random Asian guy and start like rapping Eminem, or I start like singing this, they'll be like, "Holy shit!" And I love this song. Oh yeah, this guy is good. And then I've already won their heart, and so then it's easier to feed the other stuff. You know what I mean? So no matter who the audience is, the formula for me has always been the same, and the different age groups all present their own unique challenges, but it's not that one has more challenges than the other. They're just different. But the way I approach them is always the same, and it has worked.
So what I've been struggling to do is I feel great in a room of kids. I don't mean that in the wrong way at all. What I mean is I feel comfortable making kids laugh and making jokes because I know that they would not be approaching things with any kind of prejudice and like, you know, the whole PC nonsense that's I mean, it's not nonsense. I don't mean that.
I know. Look, I'm an American. I'm a reformed American, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. What was I even saying? Yeah, but when it comes to adults, there's a lot of fear that I feel. Like if I'm like at an open mic, I've been doing a few of those, trying to do some jokes and stuff. The way
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you have a video of that? I totally want to see it.
Yeah, when it's good, when it starts working,
yeah,
that's when I'll show it to you. But yeah, so what I always found was that with children, it's a lot easier to get their attention because they don't have all those filters.
Right.
But it's more difficult to keep it because the second they see you doing an older person thing, like even a movement or a word that people their age don't do or say and they can't relate, they get disconnected like that.
Okay, understand.
Yeah, which is why I thought your enthusiasm really rubbed off on them at the beginning of those events. And yeah, that's how, like, before I really got to know you, that's all I saw of you was the onstage thing. So yeah.
So what have you discovered? What have you discovered with the older people then?
Okay. Like they will approach everything as someone punching down on something. Like
interesting.
So if I make a joke that includes a XYZ person, they will assume that the joke is about XYZ person. Do you know what that means? Like if you go up to a kid and you tell them, hey, there was a guy called Bunty. He used to wake up every morning and he used to fall down, and then you fall down. And then you say his mom used to come and give him like cereal to eat. He used to try to eat the cereal, but then he used to fall down. Then you fall down. And then you do that 3 times. The third time, they're laughing like crazy. As soon as you do that the first time, people in the crowd will be looking at you like, is this a disability joke? Is this a... And that kills it for me. The second, they don't look at you like, and then what happened? They look at you like, oh yeah, and then what happened? You know, there's a little difference in the way they react to stuff.
Is it like an age gap slash is this a humor type kind of an issue, or is it more of an age related issue?
I think it's just I know a lot of older people who've lived lives that are not necessarily always comfortable, but happier, and that they've seen fewer pain and struggle. But most adults have been so brainwashed, I guess, by the time they get to the point that they're 36 and watching a comedy show, that they don't see things the same way. Maybe.
It's true. It's true. Believe me, though, there is a way to, it might be more difficult or might require some more digging and research, but there is a way to capture every single person. I believe, at least. I believe.
Okay. So, guys, that was the first episode of the second season. I had with me my good friend, Mr. Burch Wang, who is an entertainer, performer, has been a teacher, has been an entrepreneur, and all kinds of stuff. But more important than any of that is that he's continuing to think and work, and that, I believe, is what the core message of all these episodes has been. So at that point, me and Burch would like to say bye to you guys. So we will see you next.
All right. Take care, guys. Much love. Peace out.
Cool. I'm stopping the recording.
If you enjoyed that, please like the video and subscribe for more conversations like that in the future. This was Kyareer Counsaliling. See you soon.
Kyareer Counsaliling. Kyareer Counsaliling. एक बात बताएं कि आपकी औकात क्या है, यानी कि आप हैं क्या चीज।